The movie begins with several characters receiving identical mysterious packages from Miles, a billionaire technology magnate and patron. The recipients include a scientist, a former supermodel turned fashion designer, the governor's wife, a YouTube blogger, and a diverse group of individuals united by their friendship with an eccentric genius. After a phone call, the group is puzzled by the intricate puzzles concealed within what appears to be an ordinary wooden box. With some hints from outsiders, the intellectual cream of society deciphers the riddles one by one, ultimately finding a note inside inviting them to a private Greek island and to solve another puzzle, the mystery of Miles' murder. While the others excitedly prepare for the party, another character scrutinizes the notorious box in the garage, unsure of what to do with it. She decides to break it open with a hammer to reveal its contents. The story shifts to the main character, a private detective named Blanc. Benoit Blanc. He lies in the bathtub, smoking a cigarette and losing games in Among Us. Frustrated by his lack of victory, he reverts to his original profession, returning to his detective work. Luckily, he receives a mysterious package. Blanc waits on the pier for the other participants, and the guests gradually arrive. They are familiar with each other, but the detective is new to their social circle. Soon, Mr. Miles' assistant, a man who survived a training day and a doomsday night, appears. He administers a special antiviral spray to the attendees to prevent them from getting sick. When the guests are ready to board for their luxurious getaway, the last invitee, Andy Brand, arrives. The assembled guests are not exactly thrilled about her presence since she used to be Miles' business partner, but their recent falling out led to an estrangement. Some are surprised that she accepted the invitation. The billionaire host, exhibiting symptoms of schizophrenia, greets the arriving guests and reminds them that they are all longtime friends, except for Blanc, who stands somewhat apart from the others. The host gives the guests a tour of the mansion perched above the island, crowned with a massive glass dome, after which the house is named. While old friends settle into their rooms, Miles requests a private conversation with Blanc. At the top of the room, within the glass dome, the billionaire inquires how the detective ended up on the guest list, as he didn't send him an invitation. The protagonist wonders if someone could have reset the puzzle after solving it and sent the box to someone else. Although he accepts this version as plausible, the host still allows the detective to join them for the weekend. Later at the pool, guests notice that the blogger, Duke, even swims with a gun holstered on his swim trunks. The rest of the guests discuss various matters, while Blanc roams around, gradually learning different facts about the attendees. He is told about Birdie's career, a former model and current fashion designer whose sharp statements have made progressive society wish to cancel her. During the conversation, Miles reveals to Blanc that they are all agitators here, each making a mark in different fields. The billionaire's revelation is interrupted by Andy, who exposes the guests, noting that each of them was saved by the host's wealth when their careers were on the verge of collapsing. Now each of them fears losing his favor. While strolling around the island, the detective eavesdrops on the conversations of the attendees. The assistant of the fashion designer pleads with the billionaire not to force Birdie to give a speech, as it could jeopardize both her and her employees' careers. Blogger Duke catches his girlfriend cheating on him with Miles, and Blanc spies on Duke spying on them. In the evening, the guests gather for dinner. The host provides each of them with a glass of their favorite drink, and Blanc receives a gift of spicy sauce specially brought from an exotic country. Among the other decorations in the room, which is surrounded by glass that reacts even to minor irritants, an original painting by Leonardo da Vinci, Mona Lisa, hangs on the wall. The billionaire borrowed it from the French government for a week in exchange for financial aid. The painting is for show. Next week, Miles is hosting a global premiere for a new, cheap fuel synthesized from seawater. However, the scientist criticizes it as the fuel hasn't undergone proper testing and might be unstable. But the host claims that the tests are already underway, and everything on the island is equipped with the new fuel. Around the dinner table, the host reveals that he's planned a role-playing game. He'll be supposedly killed, and the guests must investigate the crime, identify the murderer, and determine the motive. It's a challenging puzzle, but Blanc quickly solves it in a couple of minutes, unraveling a case that was meticulously planned by a hired detective. Disappointed, the host leads him to his office to give him a puzzling prize, an iPad. There, Benoit reveals that he intentionally killed all the intrigue because he believes that one of the guests, possibly Baez, might genuinely desire his death. They have complex relationships, and the idea of murder is already in their minds. Conversing guests discuss the napkin with a diagram of the fuel, placed next to a photograph from the bar Glass Dome, where they gathered and bonded. Meanwhile, the guests downstairs discuss with Sandy the fact that they are all financially dependent on Miles. She is the only one who dared to defy him, leading to a quarrel. Duke calls her a loser, after which the girl leaves. When the host returns, some guests express their desire to leave in the morning, but he convinces them to stay. Duke receives a notification on his phone which pleases him. He shows the message to Miles. The host, in his joy, tells everyone about Blang's suspicions, as if they want to kill him. He proposes a toast for friends and everyone drinks. However, just as quickly, blogger Duke, gasping for breath, falls dead. The detective tries to help him, but with no success. Realizing that the house is now a crime scene, Blang asks them to contact the police. They respond that they will arrive in the morning. Then the detective asks the people present to disperse into the rooms and lock themselves in. They are almost dispersing when Miles notices that the glass from which Duke drank is signed with his name, indicating that he is the true target of the killer. The host asks the detective to save him, fearing that any of his former friends might wish him dead. Blang looks for the blogger's phone, but he is nowhere to be found. Additionally, the guests notice that the gun, which the victim never parted with, has disappeared from its holster, even in the pool. Miles begins to panic, fearing that he will be shot. Moreover, according to the game schedule, at 10 p.m., the entire island's power is turned off. In the darkness, illuminated only by the lighthouse's light, the guests panic and scatter like cockroaches from a slipper. Miles sneaks through familiar corridors, fearing to meet grateful friends. Blang notices Andy, who asks if she took the gun. While they talk, the mysterious killer's hand with a gun aims at them. A shot rings out, and Andy Brand falls. Blang bends over the bloody body, unable to hold back tears, and the others gather around. The detective asks them to go into the house to start the investigation, and a flashback begins. A girl named Helen knocks on Blang's door. In her hands, she holds one of the boxes that Miles sent out, and it's shattered. Helen's twin sister, Andy, died a couple of days ago. Her body was found in a car in the garage. The investigators suspect suicide, but her sister doesn't believe that version. While searching the family house, she learns that shortly before her death, Andy sent a photo to all her friends who are also friends of Miles and Mealy's, showing a red envelope. Helen suspects that one of them killed her sister to hide the truth she was about to reveal. Blang convinces her to go to the island using Andy's invitation, received shortly before her death, and impersonate her until her death becomes public knowledge. This approach will help confuse the real killer and expose them. Detective Blang also joins her on this mission, as he received an invitation box as well. They fly to Greece. A day before Helen arrives dressed in her sister's clothes and hairstyle, she tells the detective the information she gathered from her sister's personal diaries. It was Andy who introduced everyone to Miles, who helped them achieve success. Andy was the one who sketched the diagram of the new fuel on a napkin. Miles directed all the company's resources to develop this project, but she opposed it, believing that the new type of fuel was unstable and prone to explosions. Andy left the company, trying to claim half of it. However, since she didn't keep the original napkin, Miles persuaded the others to testify in court that he was the actual author of the scheme. Several years after these events, Andy finds the original blueprint, puts it in a red envelope, and sends threatening photos to all involved. The next day, the conspirators head to the island. Helen, pretending to be Andy, walks around talking to the others, eavesdropping on conversations, and trying to understand which of the guests had the motive and opportunity to kill her sister. She discovers that the guests have their own career troubles and difficulties in communicating with each other. When she tells the detective about this, Blang advises Helen to stage a fight after dinner and leave as if deeply offended to search the guests' rooms. Suddenly, they might have evidence in the form of an envelope with a napkin to show to Miles. That's precisely what she does while the tragedy with blogger Duke unfolds in the dining room. During this process, she receives notifications on her phone that news of her sister's death has leaked to the media, and the whole internet is buzzing. If this becomes known on the island, her cover will be blown. Helen meets Blang when the lights go out to tell him that she found nothing, but then someone shoots her. However, the bullet hit her sister's diary in the inner pocket. Blang hands her the sauce that Miles gave him to simulate blood and puts it on her eyes to fake crying. While the girl is playing dead, a drop of sauce almost ruins her new legend. While the detective distracts the assembled guests, Helen, unnoticed by anyone, searches the last room she hasn't checked, the owner's office upstairs. There, she finds the infamous envelope hidden straight in a nostalgic installation with a memorable photo from the bar. At the same time, Blang accuses the Mileses of being skillful organizers but far from the genius they're credited with. In fact, they are quite foolish, and their only talent is stealing other people's ideas for their benefit. Blang then points out that the host himself gave Duke his glass and later claimed that Duke took it by mistake. The motive for the murder is that Duke saw the billionaire leaving Andy on the day of her death when they all gathered near her house but didn't find her herself. In the climax of the speech, Helen descends the stairs, and everyone mistakes her for the deceased Andy. She brings the envelope with the original napkin. Blang explains that the billionaire, upon learning of the threat to lose his company, poisoned the girl. And when Duke learned of Andy's death, he put the facts together and started blackmailing Miles, for which he paid the price. The billionaire added pineapple juice to the glass, to which the blogger had a severe allergy. As evidence, the detective uses the napkin from the glass onion bar. Unlike Miles's forgery, it has the genuine imprint. However, the billionaire remained calm and simply destroyed the evidence. Without tangible proof, Blank cannot help Helen. In court, the testimonies will clearly not be in her favor because all the guests will continue to protect the owner for their own prosperity. In a fit of desperation, Helen smashes glass ornaments and alcohol bottles, while the others watch in disbelief. Soon, they join the mayhem, expressing their discontent. But Helen's true goal is not just to vent her rage. She sets the alcohol on fire. When the fire suppression system is activated, the girl tosses a tiny piece of synthesized fuel into it. The sudden release of tremendous energy results in the ventilation system exploding. The hall is engulfed in flames, but Helen is not satisfied with this. Her gaze falls upon the original Mona Lisa, protected by armored glass. She rushes towards it, and they try to intercept her but don't make it in time. Gray presses a button, raising the protective shield. Miles's vanity and desire to view the masterpiece without distortion lead to the tongues of flame engulfing Leonardo da Vinci's work. Later, sitting on the marble steps leading down to the sea, Helen explains that no one in the world will want to deal with Miles's fuel, which due to its instability, destroyed a world cultural masterpiece. And now, he will be remembered for all centuries as the Herostratus who set fire to the temple of Artemis. Realizing that he is of no use now, the friends agree to tell the truth in court. Vindictive Helen descends to the shore, where Blank sits in a lounge chair, watching the approaching red and blue lights of the Coast Guard. Justice has prevailed, and they can now head home.